And I would have like toxic reactions, and I looked it up and I'm like, oh, I must be just having a detox. Because it's, you know, what's crazy is like people will sell you stuff and then you get sick from it and they're like, oh, way to go, you're having a detox reaction, it's flushing all the toxins out. It's like, go with your gut, what makes you feel good. You know, healthy self, if you break it down, heal thyself. And so when I'm driving sometimes and I'm like not really looking, these road signs that are green that say the mileage, like Charlotte, blah, 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 blah. And it says like 40, 60, whatever, how many miles there are, the green road signs, they're all in the same font. And this is this might sound crazy. This is just another rabbit hole that I'm going down. I have this feeling that based on the shape of our eyes, we're supposed to be reading up and down. And then they hijack us and have us reading left to right, but embedded in the words are actual like up down messages for the subconscious mind. Like sometimes it'll be like, why are they saying like this tiny little town in 3 miles on the sign? Like sometimes it's like, why is that one on there and this other one isn't?
Right.
Type thing. I'm like, oh, that's weird. That bigger town's not even on the sign.
Right.
You know? And so I've been like relaxing my mind. I mean, relaxing my mind, yeah, but my gaze. Like I do this thing where I soften my gaze and kind of like see like through things. Remember those old, you guys are old enough. I don't know if we talked about this before, when hypercolor shirts were out and then those pictures were out. We had, you know, in Mallrats where you like cross your eyes and you see the picture come out of the poster. So you have to like soften your gaze and you can like see that poster thing. So I kind of softened my gaze, and in the words stacked is a different like message or something, like out of the movie They Live. So stacked in like 3 cities will be some other word or something, or a message for the subconscious mind. It's so weird. I don't know what I'm really seeing.
Hey yo, welcome to the Godcast.
Nothing is as it seems. Nothing. I mean, literally, nothing is as it seems.
We took authority for truth instead of truth as our authority.
The great deception is still to come.
Not every human you see is human.
A lot of us equate our value in life to the things that we have or the things we're able to acquire. And not the things that we're able to pass on.
But just sharing this story allows those people who are just starting out to recognize that there's somewhere to go.
Do you find solidarity within the differences, or do you find division within the similarities?
And it was a battle for my soul.
It's not if you buck meets the gospel. What's up now?
Welcome to Godcast,
the Goodness Over Darkness podcast.
Here's your host, Emmanuel Kingman.
It's showtime. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Kingman, and here with me is the lovely, fabulous Mimi.
Hello.
Hello, my love. How are you?
I'm good. I was waiting for some crazy intro, but I know we're on a roll tonight.
Yeah. So our guest on today's episode is Matthew Landman. Matthew of actualactivist.com, sparrowgear.com, frankenskies.com. This is his second appearance. If you haven't heard his first appearance, where we talk all about his movie, you should definitely go check that out. I forget exactly what episode it was, but you can just go down my episode list and you find Matthew Landman on there. This is an excellent conversation, and you all are going to have a great time listening. If you want to help the show, you can like, comment, share, whatever, do all that. You can go to patreon.com/goodnessoverdarkness, and you can become a Patreon member, and you can also gain access to things on there that you can't access anywhere else. So go ahead and check all that out. Go check out all of our guest stuff, and that's going to do it for the intro. Make sure you stay tuned at the end of the episode for the outro, and we will see you there. So without further ado, here is Matthew Landman.
Welcome to the Godcast. cross up on my back, I'm slaying demons. It don't matter what you call that. Searching for the truth, facts are facts until they fall flat. It's looking like a story, man, it's all cap. But it's goodness over darkness, it ain't all bad. I'm at my maker, but I was called back. Emmanuel, show my people they're under a spell. Heaven or hell is free will. I made my choice and now it's well with my soul. I pray the same for you as well. Welcome to the Godcast. Welcome to the Godcast.
Hello, everybody. On today's episode, I have on a returning guest. He came on last time to talk about his movie Frankenskies. He is creator of actualactivist.com and sparrowgear.com. Everyone, welcome Matthew Landman back to the show. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank you
what's
so much
up?
for coming.
Hi, Todd and Mimi. I'm glad to talk to some real folk. I know you guys remember I'm from Virginia, so I'm a real person. Whatever that means. I mean, like, well, to explain what that means, I've traveled a bunch and I've worn a lot of hats, working a bunch of different jobs and going to schools and doing my thing. And after a while, you kind of mesh with like being able to talk with everybody when you're from certain places. But if you're like, you know, from a place and you don't leave, sometimes you don't get to see that worldview and whatever. What I'm saying, you guys are in the Carolinas, right?
We're in Georgia.
Yeah, same. I mean,
But we're both from Philadelphia, so we've.
Oh, you know the East Coast, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from Northern Virginia. I went to school in Southern Virginia, and that alone was like the whole differential.
That's like the Mason-Dixon line, like halfway through Virginia.
Yeah, I think the Mason-Dixon line is the Potomac River, which was near my house, and it's the border between Virginia, D.C., Virginia, and Maryland. But yeah, that's an interesting topic. Let's just go there. So I like to break down everything. And nowadays, pretty much everything that comes across our plate, you know, the collective plate, it's lies. It's all either truth in disguise, truth perverted, or just blatant freaking lies, you know? Why? Well, it's to mess with our frequency, to get us fighting each other, to get us resonating on a wrong frequency, to get us worshiping things that we shouldn't be worshiping, all sorts of stuff, you know. Either way, just to break down this Mason-Dixon line and all that, I found it really fascinating growing up. And almost everybody I talk to in the Western world has heard this story. And forgive me if you've heard me say this. I repeat myself, and I don't like being inauthentic by saying the same thing over and over, but the story's worth discussing. So I do firmly believe that there's all this truth hidden, you know, and there's truth in the Bible, there's truth in our, you know, we're told the truth, but it's hidden in plain sight. So we're told that Harriet Tubman was this hero, you know, and I think every single thing that we're told is like part of the program. It's like either it's the truth, but it's twisted, you know, or it never was truth to begin with, but it's all to stoke certain aspects of our subconscious mind, our ego, or, you know, everything is seemingly the devil in disguise. It's unreal. So the Mason-Dixon line was freedom. And if you were in Maryland, you weren't a slave, and you weren't a horrible white person for owning slaves. This is what I was taught as a kid. And this is what just about everyone else is taught as far as I've been hearing. And so everyone's told about this story of Harriet Tubman. It's this beautiful story that even children are told. And I was told when I was a child, and when I went to school in Herndon, Virginia, a lot of people were white and a lot of people were black. And when I was told this story, I felt really bad for my friends that were black. And I felt guilty about the whole thing, the whole aspect of the slavery and what roles my ancestors may have played and how these friends of mine's ancestors were victimized. And it's like, there's a lot of thinking for me to do when I'm in like 3rd, 4th grade. You know what I'm saying? I'm too young to be thinking like that, to be quite frank. So what I'm learned in this program indoctrination, when I'm doing like the Pledge of Allegiance every morning with my hand on my heart, you know, we all have to say it together. It's very intense. And that's something to even noteworthy. This story was ingrained in everyone of this fantasy of this song. Harriet Tubman would sing songs, and they would get through in the slave community through song. So inspiring, because they couldn't read and write supposedly. And then we're told that they sing the song of the North Star, and the North Star is freedom. Okay, and it's this amazing, beautiful thing because it stays there, stagnant in the Virginia sky, or South sky. If you're in Georgia or wherever you are, that you're a slave south of the Mason-Dixon line, you go out any time of year, you find that star and you follow it, because that'll take you to freedom. Now, did that actually happen? Maybe it actually happened. Is it in our history books for a reason? Yes. Are we all told it for a reason? I believe so. I don't think it's just to tell us the story. I don't think it's just to tell us the story. I think there's some really deep truth in it about our real programming and brainwashing and mental slavery. We're all subjects to mental slavery. Even when I walk in the grocery store and I consent to that sign that says "in trance," there's something deeper to that. In trance is a word, and there's so many words I've been breaking down recently. It's something else how the words are poised against us in a way with the homonyms, and
it's all word magic.
It's so much. It is so much word magic, and I've been really all over the place with a lot of deeper thoughts, and even just a movie that I saw the other day that got me thinking about parallel realities and what the movies get us to think, and how our collective consciousness projects our reality, because we are basically we're creator gods, whether you want to admit it or not. And our collective consciousness, whatever we all believe together, whether you believe that we just create it in the real world by actions, or we actually manifest it through spiritual magic or whatever it is, we create our world, our reality. And this programming and brainwashing, whatever, it's so deep. So to sum it up, the North Star, it is freedom. It's freedom from mental slavery, but we are programmed to defend it because of Harriet Tubman, and to think and know that it was this nice story to get people free from the slavery of this horrible, slavery that went down in the United States. Now, what do I mean is there's some deeper truth there about what we are and who we are and why we're here and all those sort of things. When you start to understand or overstand or comprehend, whatever, it's hard to nitpick words.
Pick word.
Yeah, I can't play that game, but it's hard. I can try a little bit with some of the stuff. The North Star, it doesn't move. Okay, and if you're down in Florida or Georgia or Virginia or something like that, if that's where you are on this spinning globe that's doing all this motion and doing all the things that we're supposedly doing with the elliptical orbit around the sun and the wobble and the spin, the daily spin, that freaking thing would move. It would move. So the fact that it does not move, it opens up this potential for a snap out of your mental slavery. And the key is given to you at a very early age. And I mean, that's all up for thought and debate and whatnot. But I do think that things, you mentioned the Mason-Dixon line. I had to go on a little talk about that. And what I said about the reference of the movie is I saw this movie just the other day. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Have you heard of it?
Oh, yeah, we watched it.
Watched it.
So we can talk about it.
Fantastic movie. Very strange.
Well done though. And okay, so the dad.
Very
Did you know
cool.
that's the kid from Goonies?
Was it Data?
Yeah, and
Wow.
also
Looked
Indiana
familiar.
Jones.
We kept saying it.
Indiana
It's got to be
Jones.
related to Jackie Chan.
Yeah, he looked like Jackie Chan kind of boy. And what an amazing job everyone did in that film. But to be in our shoes, which is the truth community, the conspiracy community. I mean, I don't mind calling us conspiracy theorists because I know where the word came from. And the word came from, after JFK assassination, CIA created that word, and because they were afraid of the truth surfacing, and I don't mind the word, but it is kind of double-edged and all these things, and what are you going to do? Like we just said, the words are hijacked. So then I don't like the word chemtrails either. You know, what are we going to do? Just like do sign language or something, or telepathy? Because I'm sure there's better words that we can come up with if we're speaking in cymatic frequencies or something like that. But either way, the filmmaking nowadays, and over the past forever, but especially over the past, couple decades, it's so riddled with programming, and it's deep, and it's aggressive, and it's in your face, but it's not. And there's so many layers. And so being in the truther community, the conspiracy world, I'm more so watching these movies. Yes, I'm entertained, and yeah, I am my old self where I like went to film school and I love movies and this and that, And I remember going and watching The Matrix when it first came out, and this was kind of a Matrix-like movie. I was really excited to have watched this 2 days ago. Okay, but I do think so the movie was about parallel planes of existence, simultaneous parallel planes of existence, where we, our soul, is living out slightly different realities all at once in like higher and lower vibrational planes of existence is how I would see it, but also maybe just like parallel planes of existence or whatever that are simultaneous. So imagine like you didn't marry Susie in high school, and like what would your life be like? Or you hit the home run in the big game, or you caught the winning touchdown. What would your life be like? And there's all these potential differences and what have you. And I've been analyzing it, and I'm happy to let you guys talk, but let me just get this out really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please. It's because it's really fascinating to open up this can of worms with the open mind, which is kind of funny because one of my buddies from way back that I grew up with, I texted him some really philosophical stuff about the movie this morning, like philosophical, rhetorical questions. And he answered like, I don't know the answer to this. Like he's not like, you know what I mean? He kind of took it like, what am I supposed to know the answer? And I'm like, dude, of course you don't know the answer to the question, bro. So, okay. So here's what I think. I think that we have a higher self that's like very close to God in connection with God. Our higher self is, it's like on a higher plane of existence. And we come to Earth for all sorts of different reasons. Some of us come to Earth to go through karmic shedding of lower vibrational stuff. And we do it in the physical plane. And I think that's something. And I think that's neat and whatever. And I think that's what Earth is kind of designed to do. I also think Earth is getting hijacked by like maybe the devil or whatever, lower vibrational beings or whatever. These beings, they want physical bodies. And that's what transhumanism is and all this other what's happening in this actual plane of existence where we live right now. But our higher like soul, our higher vibrational being or whatever, it's experiencing reality, not just where we're at right now, but in other planes of consciousness. So that opens up a whole can of worms. Like how many planes of consciousness and what's it like? And in the movie, they were all so different. Every variation, like that one of them had hot dog.
That was so gross.
Hot dog fingers.
Hot dog fingers, which I couldn't like.
So
I had
it
to,
was
like,
so gross.
I was like, yeah, dude. I get that they want it to be like this is the most extreme.
Right.
And what it is in the programming is they want the world to see it. How many millions of people are going to watch that movie, right? Watching it right now. People are watching it right now. I'm talking like Yoda backwards. So they are programming people to think that this concept is fantasy.
Right.
All right. So that's the first one. Then it's layered. There's all sorts of layers to it. Because then there's like they did all sorts of like third eye references, and they're doing like things like this, and the donut was stapled to the third eye, and like all these crazy things, and like looking through the hand symbols, and then there's the other realities through the different portals that they're creating, and and then all sorts of disclosure stuff. I felt like all sorts of breakdowns, and even like really fast things that I can't wait to get the DVD and pause because there's stuff that I was seeing that was like text that was too fast for me to read, and subconscious mind picks up on so much more and what have you. So I think that our higher self or our soul is here experiencing reality, but maybe there's fractals of our reality. Like imagine this is the main one, which I hope this is the main one, but I don't really know what that even means, the main one. So there's like the primary one, and maybe there's fractals of every potential existence that we could have made. Like I did, like I said, I hit the home run or whatever it was, or I stubbed my toe, butterfly effect stuff. Because if you came to Earth and you were going to be tested for experiential karmic refinement or whatever it is, penance, whatever it is for your whatever, I don't even know exactly what Earth is, but it seems like a vibrational uplifting after you live through your life and become a better person or whatever it is, I think that there's fractals thereof that our soul is kind of playing out in a holographic kind of universe thing, maybe simultaneously. Now, I also feel like it's important and empowering for us as activists, as spiritual beings, as truthers, as conspiracy theorists, as whatever we are here to like raise the vibration and show the way. It's kind of somehow important for us to disregard that as fantasy, acknowledge it as real, and maybe even somehow understand how to get all of our stuff like I don't really understand it, but imagine if we had a firmer understanding of this energy, and then we could work together with all of ourselves that are out there in the simulverse or whatever, the multiverse. So I think that maybe this is our main one, and because we're so effing powerful, brother, because I've felt like energy before where I'm like, how, like, we're really powerful beings, but we're just dismantled. They don't want us to know. So they dismantle us every which way. They're doing it right now, like however they can, however they possibly can through, every which way we're realizing, right? The air, the food, everything. It's to dismantle us. And I think even in this holographic world, we think this is the only one, but our connection to our higher self is like disconnected because we're actually playing out a million other of ourselves at the same time. We don't even realize it. And that it basically weakens us or takes away our true power or like, you know what I mean? It disarms us. Yeah. So we're disarmed. You get it? But by understanding what they're doing, which is all of their game, like my whole life, I'm like, I never really went to Starbucks, maybe as a teen a few times, but like my whole life, I'm looking at the Starbucks logo and my subconscious mind is processing it. And I'm somehow playing their game because I'm being tricked. But then I became aware of what it is. And I know that being aware and shining light on it, it takes the power away. I'm no longer being tricked into like worshiping their stupid succubus, whatever that evil Starbucks logo really is, but the trickery's gone. And that's part of like how the devil works, is tricking you into not believing in yourself and tricking you into believing what's not really real and not seeing the light or whatever. And so part of this holographic universe, I think that we can find our true powers by somehow merging ourselves or knowing what reality really is or something like that. I'm just opening the can of worms. So what's up about that?
All right. Well,
how about all that?
Yeah, there was a lot in there to respond to. So that movie,
let's talk about that.
It is so well done, and it's everything, everywhere, all at once. So I'll get down into the breakdown of what that actually means, because every little universe is you being everything, everywhere, all at once. But it's not just that. It's also, like you said, it's me in multiple realities all at once. So the way that I really healed myself, and this is what I encourage everybody to do, is to always make the best decision. Every decision, and this is what the movie kind of touches on, about every new decision you make, another reality then branches off from there. So if you make the same decision over and over, like when we're stuck in these states of addiction or fear or doubt, then you are branching off every time that happens. You make a bad decision because you're right. This is the main one. So every time that we break off or we make the decision based on fear, doubt, anger, hatred, all that, it branches off a new one and a new one and a new one. Well, what started happening is I started waking up, and millions of other people have started waking up, and they stopped making those bad decisions based on those things, and they started making good decisions. So reality start collapsing, And all of a sudden, those whole realities that we created, they don't exist anymore because it only ever existed in my mind. So once I died in that reality, then it died completely. The reality is gone. So as I stopped fracturing myself and I started making all my decisions, like the mother finds out at the end, she makes all of her decisions based on love. Then all of them are doing loving acts all at once. And then she's controlling everything. And even the most powerful person, which was her daughter, who's making doing all of these things, and she's gotten to this point of nothing matters because there's no time to be able to experience love, that it's such minute uh concepts that it doesn't actually matter. And the mother said, no, make it matter. Make that one moment your everything and put everything into that. And that's how love overcomes evil. Jesus overcoming Satan, if you will. It's making the decision to love and be loving all the time. It collapses every other possible reality, because the only decision that we're all making in this reality that's going to exist is going to be a loving decision that helps everybody. And even though it kind of sounds new agey a little bit, it kind of sounds woo woo a little bit, it is the absolute truth, in my opinion, is that we have to, like you said, we were here and we made decisions and to learn things and karmic debt and all that different type of stuff. But then we get to a point where we're making the decisions that Christ would make himself. If he were living our lives, he would be making the best decision for us. And whether that's turning tables because you're selling stuff in the church, or you're just loving your neighbor as yourself the way he taught us to, when everyone's doing that, then we're all one. And then we are everything everywhere all at once, and there's only one reality. But that same concept of everything everywhere all at once still applies, because we are all a piece of God and we're living out the perfect reality here.
Amazing. I love you. So that's so great. And check it out. I was thinking about in a term of like vibration. So imagine if love is in us all, because we all come from light.
Mm-hmm.
We all come from the same source, right? And if we all have love in us, then everything can and is and could be embraced and encompassed by love. Love is everywhere. Love is all. So on a frequency level, love is like this big wave of frequency. Okay. And these little frequencies inside of it, like love is all of the FM and AM channels that exist.
It's the ultimate.
Yeah. But then all these little ones you dial into are like whatever, like a universe, or like, little minute things, or like little issues, or hate, or fear, everything else that exists, everything, everywhere, all at once, everything you can possibly imagine is a subset of love. It's a portion of love, or a piece of the pie that is love. Isn't that cool? So I just came up with that while you were talking.
An opportunity
it's
to
really,
love.
Yeah. It's really amazing to be able to process these things with people like yourself. Because like I said, I texted a buddy back home, lifelong friend, and his answer was like, what do you want from me, man?
I'd be like, I need more time.
But it is fascinating, and it's amazing. And I want to keep talking about this, and also segue into this trip I had to the library the other day. So I went to the library the other day because, well, for one, I can. Before I couldn't, they were shut, or I had to wear or show my medical records, or whatever it was I had to do to get inside the library. But now I can go inside. So I browsed the library. They have a DVD section, and it's actually pretty cool. You can check out like 20 DVDs and physical books. So I found myself randomly looking at some kid books. Probably, I think I was looking for indoctrinating programming thing, like seeing what was up in the programming world for the youths, for the youth. And I try to make all of my actions, like you said, I'm gonna try harder than that. You said it, but I'm not gonna BS you, but I try to be a good person, right? Maybe not every single step of every breath or whatever, but like I try in my actions to be good, and I do believe in karma, and I do believe in like being a good person, and I think that the more that I like rattle the cages of the world or whatever, that if I have karma to play out, then that'll be a problem for me. I'll see it'll get. But if I don't, and I'm a good person, then I can keep doing what I'm doing because there's rules here, I feel, which is something. But I did commit a theft at the library. So, and I don't want to have the librarian come and find me. So I hope the librarian's not watching or anything. If you remember that old Seinfeld episode or whatever, librarians. Yeah. So this book here is a children's book on teaching children that they can grow up to be geoengineers. So it's not as complex as you might think. It says that the planet is heating rapidly and we should be ashamed of ourselves, and that we can reset the thermostat with geoengineering. And it's spraying, it's literally, spraying chemicals with jets in the sky. It's unreal, right? So they talk about you can clear the skies, you can make it rain. The Chinese government, look at them, they're so good at clearing the skies. And if you grow up, you can be a freaking chemtrailer. It's so what was this? And I'm sure I'll be faced with bigger decisions in my life. So let's talk about this for a second. I didn't want this on the shelf. I think that my community deserves to not have it on the shelf, but maybe if I left it on the shelf, then that's their life path, and let their life path, whatever. There's all sorts of different ways you can look at it. But I could have checked it out and then just had the fines pile up and then not be able to use my library card. I could have left it on the shelf, or I could have taken it and risked getting caught. And then now I can talk about it. But the book to me is treason, and it's an attack on the youth, a mental attack on the minds. But I don't want somebody reading this and being like, I can be a geoengineer when I grow up, and aspiring to be that because they came across a book. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that just like the movie where it said you have to make crazy decisions to bring in a different version of yourself, a better version of yourself, because you need it in that moment, right? So it's like you made this decision so you could bring that piece of you in because you were doing it for good, but it wasn't an act that you would typically do in this lifetime, but in another lifetime, maybe you would have. So you brought those skills in, just like the movie, and you were able to do it for the ultimate good.
What is automatically happening to me is probably what automatically happened to you, where every scenario that you could possibly do or every decision you could make at this point is running through your head, and you're like, which one? I'm thinking I could throw this book in the trash. I could write a note in it for the person that's going to read it that it's all a bunch of BS. Mm-hmm. I could do so many things.
Yeah, and I don't think that any of them were wrong. Like what Mimi was saying with the thoughts running through your head of all the possibilities.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities that what I do is I just feel if this feels like what I like. Literally the other day when I'm ordering, I was at a Wawa and I was in Florida. So, back home in PA, Wawas are everywhere. And it was like every other street in the little town that I was from. But now in Georgia, they don't have them. But now I go to Florida for work, and I was at a Wawa. So I'm about to order. I don't eat pork anymore. And of course, like everything is like ham, this, bacon, that. It's just
salami.
Italian, I can't really do anything. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I want to order something. And the Holy Spirit just takes hold of me and it just has me order something. So I press a button and my hand just goes back and hits the back button and goes and hits the other one. And I'm like, all right. So then I push something else and then it has me hit the back button and goes and hits something else. Like this energy runs through me and I allow it to make decisions for me. I stop making my decisions because, like Mimi was just saying, all the possibilities running through your head. You're like, I don't know what's the right one, this or that. So what I do, like if I go to get a drink of milk or iced tea in the fridge, I'll put my hand on the milk, and if I feel like my hand is leaning towards the iced tea, then I'll grab the iced tea. But if I don't feel like this minute pull on me, then I'll just grab the milk, whatever. That's just an example, but that's kind of what I do. I don't allow myself to make the decisions. I allow my higher self, if you will, or the Holy Spirit to come through me to make the decision for me. Because when I allow that to happen, that's when I'm at my best. That's when I'm not making an incorrect decision. That's going to lead me to a reality that I want to be in. That I feel that a lot of times we trail off, like I'm going down this path and I'll make a decision that'll somehow split me off, and this one keeps going, and then I have to go through some struggle, and then I'll get back onto the path that I was supposed to be on. But there'll be 3-4 days in a row where I face real adversity, real struggle. Like I've been dealing with tooth pain for 2 weeks now, like just crazy amounts of tooth pain, that like pain I've never felt before. And the only way that it went away the other day, I had to incessantly pray. Like it woke me up. It was such pain and nothing worked. But as soon as I prayed, it went away. And it was just like I had to put up with that for days upon days to finally understand exactly, to face that moment so that I could be ready for it, so to speak. So I think that we do things that we're led to do that is for the ultimate good. It is hard right now, and we can't understand why we're doing something out of the norm. But then when we can reflect on it in a few weeks or months, then we can say, oh, I did do the right thing there, even though in the moment it may not have been the decision I would have made.
It makes sense. And I love that you follow your instincts like that. I talk to my gut. Like I really, like literally speak to it either verbally or just silently. I'll ask questions, yes, no questions. And if it's a really firm yes or a really firm no, my gut will let me know through feeling a twist of no, or this kind of higher, out of my gut almost, energy of high frequency, like angel energy, kind of like
I feel like you're both talking about the same thing.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
DMT is produced in our gut more than anywhere else in our body.
And we are told in the Bible not to trust our heart. So don't go by your heart's decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gut
your
is
gut is
highly intelligent.
Yeah.
Definitely. So and I do like that you use your body, because the body knows all, like muscle testing and all of that. For your mouth, I know it sounds crazy, but try getting some coconut oil and rinsing your mouth every morning with it before you brush your teeth. It balances all the microbes and gets all the bad bacteria out.
I remember you were doing that for a while.
You actually suggested that, and I did it for a while, like Mimi just said, and then I stopped doing it. But I bought a whole thing of coconut oil just for that. Thank you for that reminder. I will definitely do that.
Yeah, I can't stress it. I had a big cavity and I just got rid of it because I didn't want to get it drilled, because I had gotten one drilled that recent. And yeah, I swear by it now. And while we're talking about that and always learning things, I've learned a couple of things recently. Oh my gosh. I learned about baking soda. So sodium bicarbonate is amazing. It's something else. There was an Italian doctor, Scarponi, I think. He was injecting sodium bicarbonate intravenously into tumors and healing tumors from it. It's good for balancing your pH. And if you wake up in the morning and do that with lemon water, it's good for balancing your pH. Or if you're a coffee drinker, it's good to balance the acidity, whatever. Baking soda, sodium bicarbonate. People take baths with it. It's good for your skin. If you do a sauna and put it on your skin afterwards, it makes you feel like a baby all over again. It's amazing. It's called sodium bicarbonate. So it seems like sodium bicarbonate would be sodium bicarbonate. I'll say it like 100 more times. No, it's not. It's totally different. You have to do your freaking research. It's just one of those things in the world that's sadly not told to you, So I did a bunch of, and this isn't a plug on a brand or anything, but I did this research and come to find out Arm & Hammer is sodium bicarbonate that is made in a laboratory synthetically.
I was
And-
just going to bring this up, that I thought I saw that on your page, and I was going to mention Arm & Hammer to go over that for the people that are listening.
Yeah, that post did really well. I'm very happy that it did, and a lot of people didn't know that, and I didn't know it either. And I mean, you know, I'm 41, and this is like trials and tribulations of a truth seeker, right? That's just it. So I was, and also I want to talk about Epsom salts. So I'll just talk about the Epsom salts first. I was taking Epsom salt baths. Get the Epsom salts, dump it in, and I was like, no, not the unscented ones. I'm gonna get the actual magnesium sulfate Epsom salts. And I did it, and sometimes I would do it really hardcore and stuff, and I was doing it for different reasons. My back was hurting, and to get grounded and to relax, and I love hot baths and blah blah, you know, it's yada yada. So I was getting out of these baths sometimes, and for about half a day, sometimes a full day, maybe even a day and a half or 2 days, up to 48 hours, I was having tremors. Oh my gosh, tremors. I've never had these before, where my hands like shake like crazy, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, what the heck? Sorry to say whatever, God, like that, but I'm just saying, holy geez, like, gosh, my hands are freaking shaking. What's going on? And I figured I must be dehydrated. Just, you know, all the water got sucked out of me. So for years, I was just like, oh, I must be dehydrated. And this one day, I'm always open to learn from anyone, but I'm an empath, and I absorb energy, and I know I'm trying to make my boundaries and all this. I met this homeless woman who's rubbing on her magnesium flakes, sodium chloride. And she's like, I got something to tell you. And she seems a little like slightly possessed or whatever. I think that people are like hijacked, a lot of them, and they can see when you're bright, and they try to trick you into talking to them or whatever it is. There's so much going on that we don't really know. So she has this like perfect little seed for me. She's like, did you know Epsom salts are toxic? It's like, really? That's random from a random lady on the street. I'm like, you want $1 or something? She's like, no, I just want to tell you that. She's like, you want some magnesium flakes, the real stuff? I'm like, I'm okay. You know, I'm not going to rub magnesium on myself right here in front of everybody. It's like downtown. And then I'm like, cool, like, nice. And I was like, did you know about chemtrails? And she's like, yeah, for 20 years. And she got like mad at me. Right? And I'm like, okay.
I'll take those flakes now.
I'm like, okay. And then because she like had my attention, she all of a sudden was trying to dump all this energy on me about some like rape and murder, crazy stuff about something. And it was just like such like a different energy. Like I was pulled in, and then she was like, oh, now I've got him. And I was just like, hey, have a nice day. But I took that information and I'm sharing it with you right now. So I did some research, and the toxicity levels on magnesium sulfate are through the roof. When you put the magnesium sulfate, the Epsom salts called magnesium sulfate, look on the back, read it. That is synthetic. It's made not from a mine. It's synthetic. They make it from doing stuff in a lab. And what happens when you put it in the water? It releases sulfuric acid. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I was poisoning myself and having a literal reaction to it. I was soaking in it. I was soaking in the sulfuric acid and breathing it in, the steam. I don't bathe in fluoride water, but if it was fluoride water, it'd be fluoride sulfuric acid steam that I was like inhaling with chlorine. the triple whammy. I had just had the double whammy, the chlorine and the sulfuric acid. I'm freaking shaking. I'm like, oh man, I need to take a Epsom salt bath and get grounded. I'm really shaking. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, I did that. So that was my world. I learned, and now I avoid these things, but they sell it in the natural grocery store, these Epsom salts, magnesium sulfate. Next to them, and at like Whole Foods or whatever, maybe you got to order it online, or if it says Dead Sea salts, you know, it got mined right from the earth. Magnesium chloride or chlorite. It's the flakes. They're just flakes. They're like these flakes that are dried up from the seabeds. They mine them, and they are just mined from the earth, and they're totally different. They're really good for you, and you can take baths with them and get your magnesium fix and get relaxed and all that jazz. So the sodium bicarbonate, the baking soda, The Bob's Red Mill is mined. This is a brand, Bob's Red Mill. And if you're in another country, there's probably other brands. And if you're in the US and you don't want to do Bob's Red Mill, there's probably other brands too. But the Arm & Hammer is not mined. Like, you can put that in your fridge and absorb the toxins, whatever, or do it as a cleaning product, but don't put it in your food. Sorry. And don't do what I did, which was like a teaspoon of it every morning with some water and maybe a little lemon, thinking I'm doing something amazing for myself. And I would have like toxic reactions, and I looked it up and I'm like, oh, I must be just having a detox. Because it's, you know, what's crazy is like, people will sell you stuff and then you get sick from it and they're like, oh, way to go, you're having a detox reaction, it's flushing all the toxins out. It's like, go with your gut. What makes you feel good? You know, healthy self, if you break it down, heal thyself. There's actually, in some of these words, there's not just trickery, but truth. You just have to see it for what it is. And I've been on a weird tip recently. I'll share this with you, and then we can talk about other stuff. And you drive a lot. Okay. So when I'm driving and I'm really in the zone, like my subconscious mind is like unraveling. I even keep a notebook for when I'm driving, like on the freeway, and something will come up in my head, because that's when I'm like clear and not really thinking, but still, you know, driving. And like, I've been like totally in this like zone where I'm like daydreaming, and like a deer jumps out and I do this crazy maneuver. I'm there, you know what I mean? But I'm not, if that makes sense. And so when I'm driving sometimes and I'm like not really looking, these road signs that are green that say the mileage, like Charlotte, blah, 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 blah. And it says like 40, 60, whatever, how many miles there are, the green road signs, they're all in the same font. And this is this might sound crazy. This is just another rabbit hole that I'm going down. I have this feeling that based on the shape of our eyes, we're supposed to be reading up and down. And then they hijack us and have us reading left to right. But embedded in the words are actual like up, down messages for the subconscious mind. Okay. So on these road signs, like sometimes it'll be like, why are they saying like this tiny little town in 3 miles on the sign? Like sometimes it's like, why is that one on there and this other one isn't?
Right.
Type thing. I'm like, oh, that's weird. That bigger town's not even on the sign.
Right.
You know? And so I've been like relaxing my mind. I mean, relaxing my mind. Yeah. But my gaze, like I do this thing where I soften my gaze and kind of like see like through things. Remember those old, you guys are old enough. I don't know if we talked about this before, when hypercolor shirts were out and then those pictures were out. We had, you know, in Mallrats where you like cross your eyes and you see the picture come out of the the poster. So you have to like soften your gaze and you can like see that poster thing. So I kind of soften my gaze, and in the words stacked is a different like message or something, like out of the movie They Live. So stacked in like 3 cities will be some other word or something, or a message for the subconscious mind. It's so weird. I don't know what I'm really seeing, but there's so many things.
You're saying through the program. You're like really saying it. Like,
wear your glasses while you drive now.
Well, when I was gonna say, what I say a lot is there'll be a town that's 66 miles away and this town 6 miles away. You know, stuff like that's all the time. But what you're saying there, actually, Hebrew is written right to left. You know, so there is something to what you're saying, at least in our human history, that it is read differently. And so my daughter was saying this to me the other day. She goes, I think I'm a little dyslexic. And I think she used the wrong word, because it's not that she's reading things backwards, but she's not retaining the information she's reading. But there is dyslexia where people, they read right to left, and the mind won't allow them to read left to right. And we'd say that they're crazy, but it's like their mind really won't let them to do that. But we have just trained our minds to do what we do. So maybe their mind is fighting them and saying, no, you have to do it this way.
I have this sticker. I want to grab it. It'll be 2 seconds. And then it's about the stacking of words. And so think about the way that our eyes are shaped. If we were reading top down or top down up like a snake, like top down and then up and then down and then up, I think that we could read faster and easier. Like our eyes are shaped not to go left, right. Like it's uncomfortable to look like that. But I have this sign and it's going to make a lot of sense when I grab it. 1 sec.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good point that he's saying.
Yeah, there's a post about something about how speed readers read, and it's definitely not a left to right thing. It is kind of catching certain things
And when
in a
you
certain way.
make a post on something, like I make flyers a lot. When you make flyers, you do it top down, and then you'll do it next section top down. You don't do it all
Yeah,
left to
because you want
right.
to
It's
catch
too much.
somebody's eye.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's a great
Yeah.
point with the eye shape.
So check this out. I get well, I was gonna lie to you guys. I was gonna say I get a lot of junk mail. I was gonna say I get a lot of junk mail. When I do go to the post office, I dig through people's trash and
Collect junk mail.
I look. Yeah, I get other people's junk mail. Okay, don't judge me. It's all research. So, in this person's mail, I mean, it would have been a white lie for me to say like this is my junk mail. This is a sticker that I found in the recycling. Okay, now now BLM and all this other stuff that puts us in a trance, and it programs us, and the programming is so deep and complex that we can hardly freaking grasp it. But to dissect this sticker that says fight hate, I'm holding up the screen for people that are just listening. So it says fight hate, all in caps, and the word fight is stacked on top of the word hate. So it's top down. Now, what I started to see is a difference. So you see behind you, it says on air. That's how we're trained to see things, on air. Okay, so we're on the air. This, if it was like the on air, fight hate left to right, that to me would mean like fight the hate, fight hate. But stacked top down, the way that we're taught to see, it means fight and hate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
it's like putting you, you're not seeing it the way that you think you're seeing it, and you're seeing it how they want you to see it, which
Two
is
separate sentences.
And your mind's going to remember it that way too, because if you have a pictographic memory, kind of like I do, you'll remember that they're stacked, and you'll remember one word and one word. You won't remember two words together. You'll remember them each separately.
Right.
And then along with that is another one is there was a map of active hate groups in the United States. Okay. And in every single city and community, they say that there's a different type of hate group that we should all be worried about. And it's like, I'll see these little dots all over.
Yeah.
Okay. All these different hate groups are all different white supremacist groups. There's anti-Muslim, anti-LGBTQ, anti-immigrant, neo-Volkish, neo-Confederate, Christian identity, racist skinhead, white nationalist, neo-Nazi, Ku Klux Klan, and general hate. And there's 838 of them, whatever that a number is. And so this is in a lot of people's mail all over the country. And so there's a hate group they're being told that is around them and growing, that they need to be worried about, and they need to fight back, fight the hate group. It's so deep in seeding civil unrest and fighting our neighbors and all these things. And the best thing that I can possibly imagine out of all of this as a flip side to it, like what's my recommendation to all the programming, is to actually get to know our neighbors and our community.
Love.
And love. Yeah, love. Exactly.
Not hate the hate. Love.
Yeah, get to know everybody, and when everyone knows one another, then everything is set aside. Like, oh, you're half Asian? I don't care. I was hanging out with my new friend the other day, Bodhi. Like, we'd been friends for a while, and I was like, oh, hey, why is your skin so dark? And he's like, oh, I'm Sri Lankan. I was like, oh, cool. Like, I didn't even care. Like, it came up. Like, he was like, oh, someone said I was Mexican. I was like, oh yeah, are you? I didn't like. That was not anything it didn't even matter to me. But if it had, it would have gotten broken down anyways through our friendship. And then when the fight hate train is coming through and being like, you got to fight hate. Are you fighting hate? I would have already squashed it with love. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's one thing that they always keep on mind is your differences, and they point out things. And like you said in the
And
very
who hates
beginning,
what?
yeah, and like you said in the very beginning, they confuse you at a very young age, and they're making you think of these complex things, and you're like, oh well, these people who are telling me this, they're older than I am. They must know. They're my teachers. They are people on TV. They're on the radio. That somebody somewhere trusts them enough to allow them to say these things. So I should probably listen to what they have to say. And then we just kind of fall in line with that. And it's so interesting that you're allowed to hate white Christians right now in America more than any. Like, you're literally allowed to hate whites and Christians, but the white Christians are the ones you're allowed to hate the most. It's very strange. Now, not that I even care about anyone who identifies as white or Christian. That doesn't mean anything to me. I have probably more resentment for white Christians than any other group, and I'm a white Christian. So, I don't care about any kinds of labels, but it's always what is kept on top of mind is your differences. And that's what in the beginning of my intro, it says, one time or a couple times I said on my podcast, do you find similarities within the differences, or do you find differences within the similarities? Something to that effect. Do you find division within the similarities? Like, are you looking, when you walk into a store, are you looking to identify people based on gender and skin color and their sexuality and their height and their hair length and their hair color and then their eye color? Like, are you really breaking people down in that way? Or are you having interactions with people and sometimes they're pleasant and then, that person's good in my book, or sometimes they're not pleasant and that person's, maybe not so nice in my book. But like, that's how I go about my life, as I treat everyone as a blank slate. And then however our interaction goes, even if people are rude or inconsiderate to me in some way, I let it go for the most part. I'm not going to make a fight happen. I'm going to try to calm them down with love in one way or another. And I'm going to try to make an impression on that person so that maybe they think about it. And being an empath, like you said, and having these psychic abilities, I can tune into that person later on at some point, and I can have them dwell on the thought of the interaction they had with me. And maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, but I like to think that some more times than not that they will dwell on that thought and they'll change their behaviors, and that'll be a process that'll continue to roll on. So, this whole thing about hating each other and trying to find your groups, and I know you were big into fighting against the psyops, like the trucker psyop, that whole thing, and trying to like identify where now we're at this point where we've all made so many random decisions that so many realities have collapsed that now the machine system, whatever the beast, the system, it is now producing things so that people can identify with new things, that what they determine as the threat, so that they can group together with, it was QAnon was a big thing at first. Now they have, like, I just saw
trans movement.
No, I'm not talking about, no, they're completely engulfed in the machine. I'm talking about people who think that they're awake to the machine and they're not. And like the trucker psyop. And I just saw the founder of BlackRock is making this new phone where it has an built-in app that you can communicate with patriots, quote unquote patriots. And Steve Bannon's pushing this so that you don't even have to send a message to anyone. You can just do it right on the built-in app for this $850 phone. And it's like, that's completely psyop. Like, there's these meetup groups that are called freedom cells, and I'm like, oh, that's Federal Bureau of Investigation. That's what that means to me. What was it, the Patriot Front that was grabbed up the other day? Like, yeah, that's 12 of the 15 people who went to kidnap Michigan Governor Whitmer. They were FBI agents or CIs. And like, there's what, 38 people or whatever. Yeah, 36 of them were feds or CIs. Like, it's all completely contrived, and they try to get us to do illegal things or things that aren't moral victories for humanity, so that they can then take your guns, they can take your freedoms, they can lock you down, they give you reason, and they put you, the whole time they're just pulling the strings, and they're like, okay, this person, based on all the decisions they made before, because they're running algorithms on us constantly, you're going to now join this protest about not wanting to give away your guns. So then we're going to pump out people in your area who are going to make you want to hold on to your gun more. And then you're going to do an illegal activity with that gun. So now we can lock you up, or we have more reason to take away your guns, and we can make you national news. And it's pumped that way. And these string pullers are doing it, and they don't even know that they're doing it. It's the energies and the frequencies that they give themselves over to are pulling these puppet masters that are pulling these strings, and they're not human entities, and they just can see what we're going to do based on what we've done before, and that's why they need our data, and so on and so forth. But that was a long rant there, but you can
No,
jump
that
in
was
with any of that.
no, that's beautiful. That's kind of the kind of rants that I end up going on, and I want to say, Todd, brother, is I love your intuition, and you have this connection to source or God, or however you get your intuition to be able to just blatantly say, like, that that's a psyop. Even as a trucker, that's bold, brother. And the other things that you say, it's like you don't have to freaking even research it. Wow. And like, okay, that's sounds arrogant. Okay, let's just go with that. No offense, because I'm on the same boat. Like, I ask my gut and I feel things, and then maybe I'll dig later and I'll be right. Of course I'll be right, because my higher self knew. Like, that's beyond this plane of existence, that vibration that's coming to help me out and like give me the okay on that kind of thing. So you have that sense, and that's something. I don't know how you created it over your lifetime. It's been perfected, I'm sure, through trials and tribulations, maybe, or from interacting with people and realizing, well, that guy wasn't even who he claimed to be, or something like that, because everyone goes through it. Like, God and your angels or your guides, they put you in these situations so you learn. And for me, as an activist, I've been learning like a mother effer, bro. I've been learning like crazy through some not so pleasant experiences on different podcasts and going to different conferences. And I'm jaded as I'm as jaded as you could possibly imagine, but nobody's walked my shoes. So I'll say, oh, that's obviously a psyop, because I'm kind of cynical, but I'm also resonating in truth. So, and that cynicism comes from love, which love is all encompassing, we just said. So I'm not really like that bad of a person for being a cynic when I can see right through things. And I'm not going to tell my brothers and sisters to go in sub-zero temperatures to Ottawa to get their bank accounts frozen and give a bunch of money to BJ Dichter on an $8 million GoFundMe. It's just like, I'm not advising my friends, or who, like, I don't even like to say, like, I don't like to call people on like Facebook or whatever followers, because that's effed up already. We're all leaders, kind of, right? So, but I like to put my voice out there, because a lot of people hear it and it makes other people think. But some people are super offended by the truth, even people who claim to be truthers. And God help them. I hope that they can find the light and not kill the messenger. I hope that they don't, like a lot of these, like, I live my life and thoughts and memes recently. It's funny. Like, every time I come up with an idea, I'm like, oh, should that be a meme or something? So there's this quote that, the way people see you is a reflection of them. They're really seeing themselves in you.
Mm-hmm.
And when people, I had someone contact me yesterday saying, I love your post, but you must not be who you claim because you don't interact enough with people's comments. I'm like, oh God. So, and they said, you must be a data collector and I'm calling you out for you are and all this stuff. And I'm like,
You're a bot.
well, I'm like, are they a bot? And am I going to let them get to me? And then I'm like, do I interact enough? And I'm like, sometimes I pose a question and I'm like, hi, what do you like? What kind of music? And I go to the freaking park. I go play basketball. I live my life. I come back. There's 5,000 or 500 comments or something. I'll go through some of them. Yeah. But sometimes I'm just opening up a conversation in a safe place for everyone to have the talk.
Mm-hmm.
When I say, how did you wake up to chemtrails? And there's 1,000 people's comments, like, that's great. I love all of your stories, but really I'm showing the world that you all woke up to chemtrails. That's what I'm trying to do and stuff like that.
You can't interact with that many people.
No,
I mean,
you
it's just
can't.
impossible.
So check it out, people and things, everyone. People are buying real estate on the metaverse. People are talking about having virtual children and all this sort of stuff. The world is totally upside down. And like anybody who's buying any of this, it'll only be because their womb is so toxic that they cannot have children and they're going to have to adopt these other lifestyles. And this other lifestyle will be sitting there waiting for them. And it's totally upside down. And
Or
it
men
is
are
like,
trans and they want to have real children.
it's an abomination. Yeah, real.
Yeah.
Every time I'm ready to touch on something, he just goes right into it. And I'm like, oh, well, there you go. Thanks for saying that for me.
He's intuitive.
So this virtual like disconnect, and then like Elon Musk and the potential for Neuralink and people getting like a Neuralink chips in their head before they quote go to Mars, and well, they're not going to go to Mars. Trust me, they're not going anywhere. But what this is all doing is like people are giving away their instincts, giving away their intuition, their connection to source through fear. They're disconnecting from their self. They think that they're not a spiritual being that's like on an evolutionary, like godlike journey, and that we are that we like this adoption of technology. Okay, so this is something noteworthy. I've noticed on Facebook, I've got 60,000 followers, and it's something in and of itself. Sometimes I'm getting so censored, no one sees it. Recently, I've gotten a little surge of people are seeing it, but I'm suspicious of everybody now because I think there's a lot more bots out there. Mm-hmm. Now, what happened recently through the disclosure mechanism, because they have to tell you what they're doing because we have free will, but our free will is like twisted. The free will is, you got free will, but it's manipulated. There's such liars that they try to manipulate our free will. So we still have to have the free will. So there was this Johnny Depp stupid whatever trial, which I try to avoid, but everyone doing memes about it. So I guess, whatever that was. And then there was Elon Musk was going to buy Twitter, but didn't yet. In both situations, the entire thing gets like the culmination of these two energetic cultural events, whatever you want to call it, because everyone's focusing their energy on it. Elon Musk's thing, it culminated. He was going to buy Twitter for like billions and billions. I forget exactly the quote.
45 or something.
He backed out last minute because he said that Twitter did not disclose how many bots they actually have.
Right.
And that there's all these fake accounts running rampant. And then it starts to like disclose actually that social media is rampant with like fake accounts. Like even though the social media should know if it's a bot, they know what the hell I'm like thinking. They know if it's a bot. Come on. So like for real, like I'll think something, the ad pops up. They surely know if it's a bot or not that just created an account and never lived or anything. So the Depp trial, it's disclosed that like 15% of all of the arguments on the Twitter platform regarding the Johnny Depp trial were bots. And then Joe Rogan comes out and says, "Oh, I bet it's more. I bet all social media." And he's a disclosure agent too. Like he sold a soul a long time ago. Joe Rogan, just in case anybody doesn't know. So he's disclosing it. That's disclosed, and then I've got all this flood on which I didn't have before. As many followers, I was getting like shadow banned or censored or whatever you want to call it for like 5 straight years, where I post something and it would get like maybe 500 likes or whatever. But now something really good gets like 2,000. It's way better than it has been for a long time. But also a lot of these accounts, I'm clicking on them and blocking them because they're bots. They're new and their profiles are fake, and they're saying stupid stuff. They are flirting with me. They are insulting me. They are creating arguments. They are saying the stupidest stuff. They're saying intelligent things. They're saying everything you could possibly imagine, like, oh no, that's a contrail, or bloody bloody, but just like, and then my friends or whatever are like sticking up for me and getting engaged with a machine, arguing with a machine. So the biggest thing that's going to come out of all of this technocratic revolution is we can look, each person can do as they will. Have your phone, have your vice, try to find a balance, but know that you are on a spiritual crash course destiny for something more. And it's like this intuition that's beyond the freaking technology. It's way beyond. It's completely like blows it out of the water, but they want you to think that like this hive. Oh my gosh, if you've seen Star Trek, I started to realize the Borg, that hive mind Borg of cyborgs, transhuman cyborgs in a cube. Oh my gosh, they're like Saturn worshiping freaking cyborgs that want to get everyone on the hive mind singularity where everyone feels and thinks everything at the same time and has no soul, all because of the fear of death based on them not being able to reproduce, which is just so ridiculous that people are going to be feared into this. At the end of the day, our intuition will reign. So here's what I see going down. You talked about guns and all this nonsense. Every time they say like, oh, we're going to take your guns, people buy more guns. The last election when Trump was going to like, whatever the ordeal was, they said Trump wasn't going to leave and all this. People stocked up on guns. Obama was going to take people's guns. People armed to the teeth now. Everyone's got guns. The guns are not they're all over. That was by design, I feel. And I think now they want to turn us against each other. So a white Christian, yeah, when I go to the grocery store or wherever I go, I'm the bad guy. When the mask mandate first got lifted, I was in a grocery store and I was assaulted verbally by a group of people for not having my mask on. And I don't mean to be anything, but a black woman walked right by with her face out and they had no problem screaming and accosting me. And I'm like, why am my breath is more toxic than her breath? You know what I mean? I switched with coconut oil this morning. Did she? I'm just joking. So the intuition is going to be very, very, very important. So have you heard this 2,000 Mules nonsense?
Yeah, I haven't watched it. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. So it's like viral.
Yeah.
And everybody is being told that, it's like when people are being told things, it's like you're being told. You're not discovering it on your own. You're not finding it from like digging research and resonating with yourself and like, scientific method, trials and tribulation, whatever it is, whatever your spiritual journey is, you're just being told something. That's it.
And he's charging like $30 to watch it.
Oh, well then it must be real.
Right.
It's like people have that logic. Like they like people like
the more it costs.
There's so many different false logics out there. It blows my mind, dude. Like I went on the show the other day and I ended up realizing I probably definitely don't trust these people as far as I can throw them. But we got in this like conversation and then he spun it into like, well, if you're legit, why are you live? Why haven't they killed you? And that was like, it was false logic from the get-go. It's like, we were talking about whistleblowers. I'm not a whistleblower. Like I'm talking about whistleblowers getting killed because they've already sold their souls. I haven't, and I'm over here defending my life, and like podcast hosts that get me defending my life, it's always in retrospect, like they suck. So, so the 2,000 Mules thing, it's telling everyone, come on. Yes. Okay. The mail-in ballots were BS. Yes. Okay. They bought the election. I mean, they fraudulently won. They're evil. They're Satanists. They're both like sitting around figuring out how they can create a effing civil war in this country. The CIA goes into other countries. This is their job. This is what they do. They go into other countries and dismantle them from within. Libya, Iraq, the Sunnis, the Shiites, whatever it is, they infiltrate. They literally go into religious groups like with their infiltration, and pretend to be, and then they get them fighting each other. And that's how you dismantle from within. It's like, how was the USSR dismantled? Well, these states like Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, all this thing, they broke away. How did they break away? We funded it, the USA. We helped them. What the heck? Like, that's what's happening to us now. They can't just like sidestep their. See, they agree. He agrees with me, or she. He agrees with me, right? It's a boy.
She.
It's a she. Yeah,
like
my
the
daughter
guys.
just came home.
What's her? What's the dog's name?
Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Molly knows what I'm talking about. So people are going to be like totally like it's just the program is so deep. Like, get past like all of your preconceived notions. Like, yes, they can psyop truth and then unpsyop it and reverse engineer and reverse psychology and get you thinking, oh, well, if it was this, then it must be that and whatever. Get rid of everything that you ever thought. Okay.
Just thinking that. I'm like, you have to erase your entire brain.
Yeah. Every time that I bring up like, oh, can we question like the moon or question the North Star or question heliocentric or the Michelson-Morley experiment and all these things that happened, these things happened, like researchers or scientists were like, we aren't really moving, are we? Is this really what's going on? And it was researched. So every time I bring it up and people get so offended and they're like, well, then how come there's equal gravity everywhere? It's like you're jumping down a whole like rabbit hole of false logic, like equal gravity everywhere. Like, first off, have you been everywhere? What does equal gravity even mean to you? Like, gravity is a theory. Like, you're grasping at straws and throwing them in my face, and you think that I'm like, oh, you're right, dude. No, I'm sorry for you. I feel sorry for you. That's it. Like, you have to like dismantle it. I grew up in the DC area, and when we went to field trips, yes, we went and looked at dinosaurs and all that stuff. But later on, when I learned that those aren't real bones, those are casts of like stories that they're telling you. And if we are as powerful as I'm realizing, then dismantling us by getting us vibrating in falsehoods, I think that like as a spiritual being that we are, or imagine that we're like, I don't want to call us a machine, but like if you look at our bodies, we're like this God-made, amazing, incredible machine. Like we're the most complex, amazing thing out there. And they want to say, oh, silicon computer chips, let's do this to you. It's like, no, have you seen what we are inside? It's unreal. It is. We are. We don't need to be fixed. We just need to eat better and stuff like that.
Amen. That's what I wanted to get back to is what you first said about everybody's losing their intuition and losing their gut feelings and their connection to a higher source and sense. And that's because our vessels are completely like disgusting. Like we are black tar, like from the air to the sky, to the parasites, to the indoctrination and subliminal messaging and, everything, lab made food. We are so toxic that we can't think for ourselves. So I think there's a large majority of people that still need to work on even the littlest thing. If you can just cut out one little thing at a time, certain things, cut out certain shampoos or certain foods or, anything, add vitamins. I don't know. Stop watching TV, stop smoking, stop drinking, stop ruining yourself so that you can think clearly and think for yourself.
It's like a honoring of your vibration, honoring what your input is, like at all levels, media, food, water, everything like that, as like kind of like the complex machine that I was talking about, or the spiritual manifester, creator, whatever we are exactly. I think that when we have these toxins and we resonate in falsehoods, which is what everything's trying to be blasted at us, are these perversions of love. It's falsehoods. These are lies, deceptions, fear-based things, all with frequencies that are lower vibration. I think that because we are resonating with these things through our toxic inputs, that there's like a backstop that prevents us from being the best that we can be, these like very powerful spiritual beings that they're afraid of. Because if we came in true resonance of love and truth, which blows away all their stupid programs. They're trying so hard. Like if you see like every car logo is like a worship to Saturn, and then you see all these squares, and then the TVs are Saturn worship, and it's like if you realize that everything they're doing is trying to get us to covertly worship Saturn while it's not in our night sky, so that when it comes back, it still has dominance. And it's all like this Saturn worship that they're trying to get us to play along with. It's laughable in the end, but seeing it, okay, and then dismantling those backstops by having full resonance and truth, then they are powerless. They are powerless after that once we come into full resonance. And then all of their lies are laughable because we see right through them. And every truth is on that high vibration, like Akashic records, like everything that ever was and will be, and all those parallel realities. And we can merge all of our dismantled selves to like save the day kind of thing. I feel.
I like what you said about the backstops, because often I think like, well, if I didn't know that sticker meant what it meant, and I got one because I liked it and thought it was pretty or something, am I participating? The answer is yes. You are participating, whether you realize it or not. You are participating. So the backstop allows for your participation to be cut off. And I like to say that, there's bullets flying at us all day long. Like there really is. Everybody is loaded with guns. Everybody really is, because there's bullets everywhere. And the only image I keep seeing as we're talking is like Neo, like bending over, like dodging bullets all day long. Because that's what we have to do to stay,
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on what you were saying about all the different bots that are attacking on social media and all that. And I mean, to me, I rarely have anyone interact with me in a negative way. Now, I don't know what that is. I don't get promoted very much, I might get a follower here and there, but my stuff, it doesn't go anywhere. I had on YouTube, I just got suspended for a week because of my 10th episode. And this is episode like 126, but it's like really like my 175th total video that'll be on YouTube. And my 10th one just got me banned for a week for disinformation. Like it doesn't even make sense. Like my stuff doesn't get promoted anywhere, but when I have someone interact with me, especially on Twitter, I notice it. They interact with me. I'm like, oh, that's a bot. Because
Twitter's
nobody
like all
interacts with
bots.
me on Twitter, but now all of a sudden this person interacts with me. Now all of a sudden somehow I'm following this person and seeing their tweets, and I'm like, oh, this isn't a real person. Like, or it's somebody who's targeting me, trying to draw me in to do something. And then what I've been hearing the last like 2-3 weeks over and over in my head is, it's a big club and you ain't in it. And I learned the hard way that there's certain shows, certain popular shows, Tinfoil Hat being the one I'm talking about now, that he'll never have me on. And why is that? I couldn't tell you for certain. I know it has to do. Well, we can get into that in a second, but it has to mostly, I think, has to do with Jesus, because that is something that I talk about. Tartaria and Christ's millennial kingdom was Tartaria. What the truthers call Tartaria was Christ's millennial kingdom, and it's biblical. And I have different people. Every time I go to talk to somebody, it blows their mind, because I have a very good understanding of what I'm talking about. I don't just say things on a whim. I have an 8-part series, and it's not even complete yet. There's a lot of aspects to it. So when I'm like, okay, I could bring this to this person, and they won't even respond to me. And then the booker lies to me and says that he doesn't do the booking for that show. And it's like, well, what are you talking? So, there's like, even within this podcasting group, it's a big club and you ain't in it. And I question so many people. There's I'm friends with a ton of podcast hosts, and shout out to all of them. But some of them are not who they claim to be. They're not real people. Not necessarily that they're not real people, but they're not everyday citizen like myself that is working. I'm part of the school governance team for my daughter's school. I am a softball coach. I work a real job, and I do podcasting on the side. A lot of these people pretend to be that, or maybe they don't even pretend to have a real job, that they just they make their money from Rockfin and they're farmers. That's what people claim, and it's just not true. And they have like all these different group threads, and I'm never invited. I'm never invited onto these group shows because they know that I have Christ in my heart, and I'm not going to be, you're not going to get me because I'm not going to buy into your BS. You're not going to be able to trick me. I'm going to actually convince you to stop doing what you're doing without actually saying the words. Like people, I don't talk about being psychic very much anymore because it's something I'm so adjusted to that I can manipulate the ether and people's thoughts without ever doing anything. I just like let Christ do it. And it's for the positive way that people are kind of, I don't want to say afraid that I'm messing with them, but they know that there's something more to it than just me, this dumb human who was an addict and in prison 7 years ago. And I have all these different weird things, synchronicities that line up with so many different things, that it's not just me doing it. So I don't even get the interactions on social media. I don't get invited to be a part of these discussions. I have people cancel on me last minute, or they'll never respond to me, or they'll lie to me. And I was just like, you know what? I give up. I'll just do what God wants me to do. And what he wants me to do is not to be playing in these groups anymore, not to try to fit in, because what I'm doing is dismantling what they're trying to hold true.
I love you, brother. Thank you for saying some things that I don't have thank you for saying some of the stuff that I don't really want to say. And you said a couple of things, actually, not just in that verse, but before you said some other things that I fully resonate with, that I'm not as vocal about as I would like to be. So let's talk about the flood. There was a lot of people have heard about in the truther community this thing called Event 201.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For those that don't know, Event 201 was in November 2019, a few months before the global lockdown ensued.
It wasn't October?
Yeah, sure, whatever. Okay, it was in the fall.
So just say it.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to correct you.
No, please, dude. I love it, dude. Because like later on, I'll like realize I said something wrong, and I'll be like, oh man, are people gonna think that I'm full of it because that one little.
That sounds familiar.
Or they'll latch onto it and like put a big quote on the billboard. See, you said that.
And then all the other people will come in saying, no.
Therefore, everything. And then the bots come on and be like, oh yeah, he said that. It's like they reinforce like some BS that somehow dismantles everything I've ever done.
Right.
So I found you a little bit kind of defending yourself, and not really defending yourself, but saying, well, like, this is who I am, and I don't have to, like, if you don't want me on, this is who I am, and I'm going to be who I am. And that's it. And you're not going to sell your soul to those idiots and play their game. And that's amazing. At the end of the day, we get to judge a tree by its fruits, or also we can find resonance in our gut and our heart and our soul, and really like go there. Like first you have to work with your gut. When I was like 15, my like dad left us kind of thing, and my mom's crying at the kitchen table, and I'm like, how am I going to make enough money to save the day at 15 years old? So I started trading stocks, and there was like this Y2K, like they were going to cure some Y2K stuff. And I did CompuWare. I did all right in CompuWare, and it was like, oh wow, I can do good in the stock market. And that was just random intuition kind of thing. But now I'm 41. So years of like gambling it is in the stock market. And I started asking my gut every single morning, like, how did I do? Like, am I going to go look at the computer on the West Coast because living in California and see like a bunch of red or a bunch of green, or what happened, And I'm like, I do volatile stuff, and like my gut has been refined, and I trust my gut. How can you, the listener, trust your gut? Start talking to it all the time. When you wake up in the morning and you're still groggy and you're in your bed, ask your gut, like, should I go blah blah today or not? Or should I marry Susan or not? Or whatever it is. And sometimes you'll get no answers because you haven't developed these neural pathways. And maybe you freaking eat McDonald's and drink beer. I don't know what the heck you do with your toxic body, but you can develop these pathways. No offense, I'm just joking around, but to each his own, and we can all detox a little bit more and be a little bit healthier. So, or whatever it is, even if it just means exercising more and getting outside more and getting grounded and honoring all that, or
you definitely need a baseline. And I would suggest just quickly here is truth. Be truthful to yourself all the time. Never lie to yourself. And that'll be a good way to have a baseline knowledge of what it feels like to be living in truth. If you have that baseline, then you can go from there.
Because it's so important. How can you trust anything, especially on the internet? And then now there's going to be a metaverse, and people are going to be having fake children on there. And the majority of the metaverse are going to be bots to get you to have sex with them, bots to have conversations with, bots pretending to be humans. Like, think about, you have to have your body and heart and soul and gut and everything. And Mimi, you said like the gut overrides the heart. I think they play together, and we can use them both, though I know what you mean. So I also find myself defending myself on like some podcasts. Oh, mind you, I've been on about 600 podcasts.
Wow.
Some of those, like if I go on twice on a show, maybe I'll count that as 2, but I've been on about 600 shows. And Matt on show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, very naive. I said the word like every other word, like, oh my gosh. And I listened to myself and hated myself. But I've grown, and I've had conferences, and I had this crazy near-death experience, and I got arrested at a conference, stopping Bill Gates from blocking the sun in Tucson, and I made this movie, and I'm making another movie. And you want to judge a tree by its fruits? Go the F ahead. Check out my actualactivists.com. Check out Sparrow Gear, my Instagram. It's all just books now because I'm getting shadow banned on there, turned it into the library. I'm protecting people from 5G and EMF. Show me another person on earth that's doing that. I'm leading the industry. So anybody that wants to question me, go for it, but you can't, because you judge a true tree by its fruits. And I'm walking the walk, talking the talk, and I'm an actual activist, and I always will be. Ask your gut, ask your higher self, talk to your angels. I don't know what you got to do, but not everyone can do that. So there are liars and charlatans and all of this. So Event 201 in October of 2019, pardon me, October 2019, there was Bill Gates and these world leaders and elitists came together, and they disclosed this. They don't have to let us know about this. This is part of how the devil works, you guys. We know about this. Come on. They don't have to be like, oh, top secret, but Matt Landman got the information, and another 10 million people on social media. It's like, it ain't top secret, man. It's disclosure. It's called social engineering, disclosure, consent, engineer consent. It's called tricking you, mind control. It's so many things deeper. It's called separating the wheat from the whatever that is. Chaff. Yeah. It's called like who is going to put on 2 masks and who's not outside at the park. It's called like who's there and where do you want to live and what frequency and all that sort of stuff. It's very important. So Event 201 was a quantum computer, really smart computer simulation of a scenario where all of this nonsense that we've experienced recently with the rebranding of the flu and cold, and then 5G making everyone sick, and then blaming it on, all these other things and getting everybody lining up to get experimented on, even though it's just something else. All of that scenario of sorts was ran through a supercomputer. And in the supercomputer, it was like, this is what humanity will probably do. And this is what they'll do in Brazil. And this is how they'll act here. And this is how you should do a lockdown to blah, blah, blah. And they can adjust the variables. And it's a quantum freaking supercomputer, right? They all came to run the simulation war game thing and see what the computer said and how we should react and whatnot. So my gut instinct said when they came out and said, oh, now we're doing anal swabs. The PCR test is not as good. We're going to do anal swabs now. My gut and heart and soul said, that is a data collecting like quantum computer. Like the computer literally was like, see what the humans do to this and then give me the data, because it's connected to the internet or whatever. It'll see how we react on social media. And like some people probably were like, well, I'll do whatever it takes for humanity. But a certain percentage said, F you, you know? And certain people got really mad and they watched their bio, whatever. And like people clicked, I'm upset, while they looked at the iris on their eyes and collected data. You know, how many people where would revolt if we made them do anal swabs? What if we came to their house and made them do anal swabs for the good of humanity? How they react, whatever. And I hate saying that word, but it's actually very kind of important if you grasp. That was a new word in the consciousness. How did we react? That was what the quantum computer wanted, I feel. So anyways, the quantum computer during Event 201 with Bill Gates and all these bad guys, a few months before we were actually in the real world version of this, they did in the Event 201 a thing called the flood. And the flood was media to confuse everybody on Earth. So one of the media things that came out was people in Wuhan, like doing the Wuhan shuffle and dropping dead, right? And it was because some people said it was because 5G towers got turned on. Some people said it was because the bio experiment got out of the lab. Some people said because the bat, you know, had a disease or whatever, right? It was all probably BS. It was media to disinform and confuse people and get everybody all freaked out. A bunch of other media came out too, like a flood of media, always. Ivermectin, Q, blah, 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 even stuff that's unrelated. Confusion tactics, depth trial, Ukraine war, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff, distraction stuff is called the flood. And I'm getting somewhere with this. Is very important for everyone to grasp. The flood is like you flip through the TV. It's like CNN, CBC, blah, 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 blah. Everybody on Earth heard the same words. Lockdown, blah, blah, blah. All these words are in the consciousness. And no one's missing it unless you're under a freaking rock with a rock in your ears, in each ear, you know? And you're eating rocks. Like that a Never-Ending Story giant, you know? He ate boulders. If you watched Never-Ending Story lately, it's a great movie. Anyways, in the flood of media to confuse everyone on Earth, the quantum computer was also like, hey, evildoers, while you're flooding everybody with misinformation, we need a flood of alternative media as well. Dun, dun, dun! So does that make any sense to everyone? What does that mean? That means in March 2020, a bunch of people were going to have a heart-opening experience that the light shines through and says, start a podcast for the good of humanity because you're retired and you have some random plot of land and you don't really need to do anything else because somebody just handed you something, like George Soros or whoever maybe. So about 100 podcasts came out around then. Probably like 5 of them are genuine. Okay. And this is in the United States only. This is a global phenomenon. Okay. These people are not, I mean, come on. If you walked a day in my shoes, you'd realize that everyone is completely naive. But let's just think about it. Like, they killed JFK. They lie about everything. They probably controlled Martin Luther King. Like, who even freaking knows? Like, they control it all. They control it all. They even control psyops where they want us to think that they're controlling the psyop. So everyone's like, oh no, space has to be real because the psyop was so bloody. It's like, dude, they're controlling the way you perceive different things. So if they've got their little minions in every little thing you can think of, like they kill anti-mosquito activists and stuff, anti-GMO mosquito activists. They kill whistleblowers, and they have okay, let me just say this really quick. The Black Panthers might have been a threat. So the CIA and all the little 3-letter agencies or whatever, they were like, we have to infiltrate and control this and
Mhm.
never let anybody be a threat ever effing again, ever.
Right.
And so they're like, okay, well, how? We'll infiltrate and control every group, or we'll lead every group. So being a chemtrail activist, I've learned that the word chemtrail activist doesn't even effing exist except for like really like me, I guess. Because nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to be that. Because it's easier to be a GMO activist or all these other things. Chemtrail activists get shamed out of the room, man. It's not an easy life. It was a horrible thing that I chose or whatever, but it was God's plan. And like, I lost all my friends. Still, people won't even believe me. You know, some do, definitely. It's like been an amazing, like, uplifting thing because people contact me in droves and say that if they hadn't seen my movie, they would have bought all these lies. Okay. Anyways. So if there's a flood of like 90 fake freaking podcasts all at once in 2020, and Matt Landman goes on like almost all these shows, but then they realize that I'm genuine and they're like, well, we got to ask our little ringleader what to do about him. Can we keep having him come on our shows? And they all behind the scenes are like,
nope,
no, we have to screw with him. So I've had people come into my all these people will remain nameless for my own safety. One of these podcast hosts came into my real world, created conflict with me in real life. The other one is like this ringleader and it's like trying to create real world conflict with me and baiting me into creating drama and karma and stuff in my real world and like asking me to like get and like baiting me, all these baitings of me in my real world. And then also like they will like have me on the show and then, you know, turn on me halfway through, or, oh, here's the best one. This is live, so you can't even, you know, this is beautiful. Here's the best one. I'll do a 2-hour-long show, and at the end, they'll be like, oh my gosh, man, I wasn't recording. Or this one guy, he literally clicked record, and it said, now recording, and he gave me the best poker face ever. And like, my heart's like pounding. I'm like, I just gave you 2 hours of my heart and soul. You just click record, and now what? You're not even going to say, oh, sorry, or oh, oops. And I'm like, what's up? You just hit record? And he's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, you weren't recording the whole time? He's like, oh, and he tries to play dumb. I'm like, dude, I can see through, and they don't realize that the only reason I even did the show is to test them and see who they really were. That's what I'm doing and why I'm even there. Because like, how am I going to find out who I love and trust? Because I got big dreams, man. It's not just going on podcasts. Like, I'm trying to put money in your pocket. I'm trying to wake up humanity. I'm trying to have an actual activist, actual network. You know, people pay 50 cents to listen or whatever. And I have the drive, the passion, the wherewithal. I mean, education is BS, but I'm doing it, man. I'm running a business. The education, like, I can do a lot. And for them to show their colors, they already screwed up, man. They're idiots. And like, I revel in the fact that they love messing with me, man. Every time something happens, I just like cross them off the list, put them in the folder and move on. And usually I know going in, like, I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be like this. And with you, somebody who I really don't trust said something about you that didn't sound right. And so that really made me be like, oh man, I really like him. Yeah, but there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of ways to feel in. And the first time we did a show, I really loved talking to you. And
well, if you don't want to say on air, I would love to hear who said what. I mean, we could talk about that off air. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. But it's funny because I'm the same way because I still have these people follow me. I still follow them. You know, I interact with them when they interact with me. I keep it kosher, but I know what's up. I mean, there's no secrets between people.
It's what I love about you so much is no matter what anyone says or does, he's like, he just shows them love and he isn't afraid to say like, hey, you did this, you did
I
that.
call people out all the time.
He'll call them out all day long. And I'm kind of like, oh man, I'm not here. Like,
well, so
I'm
one
not
of
here
my
for this, but that's what I love about you.
One of my
You're just so straightforward and honest all the time.
One of my favorite podcasts to listen to because they bring on people who talk about the biblical stuff and the narrative of the Satan, the fallen angels, the Nephilim, that type of stuff. That's where my research has really led me to and all that. They won't even answer my Instagram messages. And I listened to an episode of theirs the other day, and they were like word for word things that I said on the podcast. And I didn't even know, but the day before I messaged them and was like, hey, I heard people going on your show using my unique work. And it's fine, whatever. They don't have to give me credit for it. But if you want the person that they got it from, you could bring me on. And then that episode was already out. Then I heard that and I'm like, oh, you really listen to my show and then respond to me on your show and won't even answer my messages. And I'm like, what is that? And God tells me it's a big club and you ain't in it. And it doesn't matter, like the one guy's Aaron Rodgers' brother. Like there's no way they're going to let me talk to him. They're not going to allow me to talk to, like, there's someone else who grew up a rich person who was living in France at some point and, then moving to an island at some point. And I've had that person on my podcast several times, but never responds to me when I say, hey, can I come on your show to talk about this? Pretends to be friends with Mimi and saying all these different things, but never will let Mimi and I come on to talk about things. But that person will have on Larry Bishop Gators, like the most obvious fake person that there is. And then they'll go and watch my stuff on the Book of Enoch series. And then they'll go talk about that. And then they'll go on big podcasts and they'll get to talk about my work that God led me to. And I don't get any credit for it at all. Not that I need the credit, but they won't even have me on their show to talk about it. That just doesn't make sense to me. So I definitely, I'm over, I don't really care about it. That's why I talk about it in the open. Like maybe people think that I'm butthurt that I talk about it, but no, I'm not. I'm just completely open. And that's why people are afraid of the truth. They don't know how I would.
Even when I hear you talking about it now, I'm like, oh,
yeah. I don't.
I want to cower. Like I'm not here for this, but I am here for this
because people don't know how I'll react, so they don't want me on
honest.
Because they don't. Because I'll just be who I am. So I have gotten a lot of people who really are into me now. All of a sudden, like people are going to church because I'm going to their podcast and I'm talking about Christ. And I don't go to church myself and I don't promote church necessarily, but like when someone tells me that they're going to church based on, I had something to do with it, I'm like, okay, like I have more trust with that person than I do with a lot of other people because they're hearing my words and it's having an effect. And like you said, you can feel my emotion. I can feel your emotion. And I can feel when I'm talking to someone and they genuinely want to hear what I have to say. I can feel it in my heart. And it's like this tingling down the back of my spine. And I'm like, okay, I can really open up to this person. And there's not that much of that anymore. I went on, I think like 12 podcasts in the month of May. And there was like maybe 3 of them where I felt a real connection with real people, and not to discount any of them, I'm not going to say who's who, but the people who have the most profound effect on me, I can feel that it's vice versa, that I'm also having the most profound effect on that person, and I can then trust that person. It is not every day that I don't trust very many people. I may come off that way. I may present myself as someone who trusts everyone and everything, but I really don't. And that's why I am withdrawing as much as I have been from the podcast community, because I can see it for what it is and God just pulling me away from it.
Yeah. And what it is it's having people not connected to their self. So I have a good friend, Sequoia, and she lives on a farm, and she found out about me through podcasts. And when we first met, she was like, I'm meeting my hero right now. And I was like, oh, who? Where are they here? I want to meet them too. And, I slowly understood what she was saying. She's like listened to all of them, but she intuited that it was time to just turn it all off because it was like repeating the same nonsense, or getting her to think things that weren't, or like fear-based stuff, or gloom and doom. And, you know, so she's working on a milk farm, and she says people come in from the city to get milk, and they're like, oh my God, the world's so crazy. And she's like, not here. It's not. Cows. Here we are. Like, yeah, I see some chemtrails, but like and so we started talking, and I put her on to this Irish sea moss that I'm really into right now. It takes 104 minerals in a day for us humans. We need 104 different minerals throughout the day. We don't really get all these minerals, but this Irish sea moss I'm getting online, it's the sea moss has like 90 bioavailable minerals, and then it has crushed in it the bladderwrack and burdock, which gives you the 104 bioavailable minerals. And I'm taking that and feeling like really good, and feeling resonance, and tuning out to all of the chatter myself, and being more like internal, and like lighting a candle and freaking like meditating and reading a book, and not listening to what everyone else has to tell me how to think and how to feel and what to feel and how to all these things. And I noticed that other people are doing it too. And it's amazing to find yourself, because once you find yourself, then you can go back and listen to all that stuff. It's archived. It'll be there. You know, like one of the most powerful things that I can try to say on these podcasts is stop listening to me talk, man. Like, find yourself. And then when you're listening to me later, and you're in your gut, and you're like, oh wow, that resonates. I can feel that. I didn't even feel it before. It's because you've honored yourself, whatever way that makes sense to you. And with that clear mind, you can find your like true path and what makes you happy, and, you know, be the person that you're meant to be, you know, find your true
Totally agree with all of that.
Yeah,
you know, when
me too.
you sit back and you work on yourself, you know, and you stop watching TV, and you stop, you know, drinking, and you stop smoking weed, or you stop smoking cigarettes, and then you know, maybe go watch a movie. You're not watching it with the same eyes that you had, you know, or the same mind. So it makes it so much different. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and like, just so everyone knows, you know, I'm not hating on anyone doing whatever they want. You know, the plan isn't mine, it's God. So obviously you're doing exactly what he wants you to do, whether you know it or not. And
It's happening for you, not to you.
or whatever, you know, however you want to word it. I mean,
Yes.
it's all happening, and it's not our plan here. So I'm not hating on anyone. I'm not telling anybody not to follow or listen or do whatever. I don't care. You know, this is you and your God have to decide what's best for you. You know, it's not up to me. But there's just like there's a time and a place where we have to realize what is going on. And when I hear people, and this isn't, you know, again, I'm not saying this to anybody, but when people are encouraging you to meet up in real life with people you meet in the podcasting community, not necessarily podcasting community, but the listeners, and have these meetups and all, to me, I'm like, nah, I don't trust any of them. I don't trust the people that contact me the most. I mean, there's certain people that I trust more than others, because we've had, you know, there's people you connect with, like you
Built
just
a
said
real
with your
relationship,
friend on
yeah.
the milk farm. There's real people that you can connect with and understand. But for the most part, I wouldn't meet up with like 95% of the people that I've talked to through the podcast. And that goes for guests, that goes for people who have friend requested me or follow me, and we talk on Instagram, whatever, you know, it doesn't matter where. But most people are not who they say they are. Even if they think they are who they say they are, they have given their energy over to a God that isn't God, and they are being run by that lowercase g God, and they are doing, which many people know as Satan or the devil, beast, whatever, and they are not making their own decisions from a clear place of thinking, because they have all these vices. And for me, what really did it, what cleared me out of everything, was I grabbed onto Jesus, and that was my centralized understanding. And once I saw how people reacted to me when I used the name of Jesus, it had a visceral reaction. People would, you know, go back, and they would just like yell at me and say, like, I went on a show and someone was accusing me of saying, you know, LSD is a bad thing because I was saying it because in my mind I knew that the CIA had created it. And I'm like, I didn't say anything about LSD. We were talking about some other psychedelic. So your principle that you're standing on isn't even true because you're not of truth, and you're just attacking me because I use the name Jesus. And when I started holding on to that, I was like, okay, that's the true testament to how someone can, what energies are controlling them or they have given themselves over to. If they can't hold themselves still while hearing the name of Jesus Christ, then there's something else going on there. So that was the first thing, and that was just like my centralized thing that I've really held on to, and he helped me and showed me all the deception that is in all these circles that I've been running in.
That's a really good practice too, and I learned that from you, is when you talk about Jesus and somebody's like, "Ugh," and they don't want to talk about it, you're like, oh, okay, I see where you are. I have to meet you where you are. I'm gonna go gently.
Well, unfortunately, some people have energetic attachments, whether you call it lower dimensional beings or
Right.
demons, the opposite
Demons,
of angels or whatever.
parasites.
Or parasites, or just cords to ex-lovers that are on a lower vibration, or whatever it
Also
is.
parasites.
Yeah.
All of
There's
it.
all these things, there's energetic things that we can't see. And when the brighter that you shine, the more you're going to trigger those lower vibrational things. Like sometimes they can't even contain themselves, and they want to just they don't like you. They don't like anything and about you because of who you are and what you are and who they are and what they are, this spiritual battle that we're in right now. So it's important to understand that and just own your own frequency and let them, kind of do their own thing. It's a vibrational kind of battle, and the spiritual aspect of it, it's very real. So really quick before we wrap up, triggers. I've noticed a lot about triggers myself recently, and it's a part of growth.
Yeah.
What triggers you? Okay. If someone says something to you, are you going to be Bruce Lee about it and just take a deep breath and not let anything, or are you going to get really upset? Are you triggered by seeing me wear a mask? And what is that? What is this victimhood psychology that you're resonating in? Are you bringing all your karma into this and making it into a thing and not owning your stuff? Because where's your shadow? Because there's a shadow in your triggers. Why are you being triggered? Why, when my friends drink too much or something, why am I triggered? Well, I don't trust what they're going to do next. And maybe my dad, something, but it's deep, and you have to surface these things for healing instead of just pressing them away, because we're supposed to be healing all together, and all these things are coming up. So even if I didn't have any belief in spirit or anything like that, being an open-minded, kind person, I still shouldn't be triggered by the word Jesus. If that's triggering me, there's something that needs to be looked at. A mirror needs to be put up. And being who we are, I firmly believe we're in this place of mirroring, which is like the healer does this mirroring, and it brings out so much in people because they've never seen themselves, evidently. And these triggers are important in seeing how they're triggered, how we're triggered. It's always a reflection. They're not really seeing you, they're seeing their downfalls or something like that. But just keep shining, brother, and honor let them get triggered, let them see that, and hopefully they can learn from it. And I know you said that in different words, but it's like we can learn from it, they can learn from it, we can all learn from it and grow. And that's part of growth, because we're all adults now, but these things are still there, whether they're remnants from our past or past lives or present or right now. You brought up people being flaking on you on podcasts and all that triggered me, and why am I letting my emotions get into it? You know what I mean? I'm just here to serve God's will or whatever, and bring forward truth best I can. I'm just playing my part. They want to be total whatever they're doing with their souls, let them do it, man. I can't let it get to me. I've been reading a lot of books, or trying to, and buying a lot more, but in the 4 agreements, it's don't make assumptions, don't take things personally, and let them be triggered, I guess. You know what I mean? As long as it doesn't impact me too much. But what it feels like, to go back to the 200 mules, is they're convincing everybody that the election was bought, and then or fraudulent, and then next election it'll be fraudulent again, and like some state like Tennessee that would never ever have voted for Biden will go Biden because of the mail-in elections, and they'll stage like a psyop conflict. They'll
Trigger warning.
a false flag like conflict, and that goes back to, so I can wrap up the thought, the demonization of the white Christian male, because, and this hate thing I'm getting in the mail or they're getting in the mail, is the junk mail, is they're what they seem to be trying to do is divide us, like always, but like really divide us. Like, oh, you're a Trump supporter, oh, how could you? And oh, you're a Biden supporter, how could you? My neighbor is a veteran, and I'll wrap this up really quick, but he's got this patch on his biker coat, and all of his biker friends are veterans, and they have this patch. I'm like, oh, what's that patch? And it's like this hatred for Biden, this patch. I mean, they will go to war against him like right now, lickety split, if you just say the word. So it's all been primed. But when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan supposedly and left them all these a small military, which is like, why would they even put that in the media to get everyone all upset? Supposedly, when he left all these Black Hawk helicopters and all this top secret technology and gave the Taliban all this military tech and an arsenal and everything, he left behind like 12 soldiers to die and be tortured. And these veterans have this like number 12 like patch. They all hate him. And a fraudulent election, like propagated by this 200 mules thing and all that sort of stuff, my intuition looks like that this would be a perfect sham. It's so obviously like a charade, but even the truthers are completely adamant that they need to tell everyone that the election was bought. It's like, elections are bad. Like, both sides are evil. Like, you're focusing on something inside the devil's like layer, and you're like trying to expose it. It doesn't make any sense. It's all already corrupted. So let's just focus on not fighting each other. And if some war unravels, maybe our community will be so tight that love can save the day.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. I feel like you have to work on yourself. We cannot change the election. We cannot change all these things. We have to work on ourselves first, and then let that mirror out and let other people catch on.
Right. And
and that's how it spreads. Super spreader.
Yeah. Just to wrap it up, like you were saying, they made it not so obvious that the election was stolen with Trump. It kind of seemed like maybe. And then what they did was they triggered everybody and said it was stolen. They triggered everyone that hated Trump. And then what happened is they made it very obvious that they stole it, and they said, no, it wasn't stolen. And actually, you can't go on social media. So what they're doing is they are pumping up that side,
angles, yeah.
Right? They're pumping up both sides, and now they're gearing up for, okay, it was definitely stolen. Now no one's going to do anything. Now it's going to be the largest gun owning group is the white male, mostly Christian, I would assume. I don't know that fact or that statement to be a fact, but I would assume that they're probably the largest group of people who own guns, and they're going to now be the domestic terrorists because they're going to be, it's all a play, and they are making people do certain things. They know how you're going to react if they do this. They know how you react if you do that. So that's why they play both sides of the aisle. And to sum it up, you have to be everything, everywhere, all at once. And the only way to do that is to heal yourself, is to be loved.
Love and be loved.
I love it. Yeah, that's a great
anytime you need anyone to fill in for me, Matt is available.
Yeah, Matt's awesome. Yeah,
he seems to say everything I've got written down. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Well, there you go.
Oh, thanks, Mimi. We were on a telepathic connection, I guess.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like when that happens.
So, do you want to let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, please, on Facebook, Matt Landman. While that's there, Sparrow is a Latin word for hope. SPERO, and that's why I named my EMF clothing line that, to bring hope to the next generation and to people now to protect themselves from all the 5G and EMF and all that stuff. So Sparrow Gear is my Instagram handle, and on there, if you're on Instagram, you can check it out. I just put a bunch of books on there to have a little library until that comes back to life. So that's my Instagram, and then sparrowgear.com to check out the EMF gear. Just take a look at the website. We've just revamped it, and I hope you can take a look. And if you want to buy the Frankenskies DVD over there for $3, you can, or watch it for free on frankenskies.com. And then frankenskies2.com will have updates on the upcoming sequel that won't be ready for a little while, but it's plugging along slowly but surely while I find people that I can trust to talk about very important things. And Actual Activists with an S at the end. That's my baby, actualactivists.com. There's a little hub there for podcasts that I like to
Find my
recommend.
podcast there.
And your podcast is on there on the list of trusted awesome podcasts. And among, as well as I have a page on there for health and 5G, chemtrails, everything you could think of, really, that I could think of at least, and a daily blog as well of truths. So dig around and find something that resonates with you, and steal some of my memes over on the health section. You can steal the memes. The health portion has all these different cool tidbits about, cinnamon or oranges or whatever, dandelions, whatever. So don't be a stranger. My email is frankenskies@gmail.com. I don't do the proton or anything. You can't hide anyways. Right. And please reach out. Maybe I'll see you over the summer. Anyone out there, I'd like to do a little tour and keep giving out DVDs and spreading the word and getting some footage from real people, because everyone, real quick, I want to do some montage of people that have woken up to chemtrails, because the world, the powers that be, want everyone to think no one's waking up, but everyone is. So I want to do a montage of like Nebraska, everyone, and it's like, well, I woke up to chemtrails like this, me too. So it'll be a neat, empowering thing, just like Frankenskies, the first movie. And I loved and will continue to love speaking to you both. And I can't wait to meet you all in person.
Yeah, that'll be great. Looking forward to it, my friend. So everybody, make sure you stay tuned for the outro, and we will see you over there. Bye for now. All right, welcome to the outro, everybody. It is great to be here with you all. If you want to like, share, comment, whatever, do all that stuff to help the show. If you enjoyed the show, you can go ahead and do that. We would greatly appreciate it. You can become a Patreon member, patreon.com/goodnessoverdarkness. And now let's get into today's show. So what did you think of our wonderful guest, Matthew Landman?
I love talking to Matt. Even the last interview a while back, my takeaway from getting with him on Facebook or in interviews or Instagram is always I could do a better job at cleansing my body, cleansing my environment, or doing the work of learning about these things. I could do a better job, because he really goes in depth with all of that stuff so much.
Yeah, and he reminded me about the coconut oil for my mouth, which
yes, what you need to do.
Desperately need that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
if only that would work in my ear.
So it's so interesting how God puts people in touch the way that he does, exactly when needed. Like, we watched Everything Everywhere All at Once on Saturday, right? And then he said he watched it on Sunday.
Yeah, he said, "Did you ever see this?" Yeah, we just watched it.
Yeah, this past weekend. He goes, "Oh, I just watched it 2 days ago."
Why did we watch it? It was because whatever movie you wanted to watch, we couldn't get it to play. And I said, "I heard about this movie. We should watch this."
So what I was hearing that day that we watched it was, Us. Go watch Us. And then I was trying to watch the movie Us. And
didn't happen.
No, but we watched Us on screen as on Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it was interesting.
Thought it was interesting that it had the same character as the Squid Games. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can definitely.
I wanted to ask Matt if he realized that it was the same old guy from the Squid Games that was the grandpa in the wheelchair. Yeah,
and it was Data. That, I mean, as soon as he said that, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's him."
I didn't even realize that either.
I didn't know that either.
We were kind of talking about who that could be, or who we thought it might be, or who it reminded us of.
I was messing with me.
We were messing around, but
she said it in the beginning, and then he started doing his different moves, and I was like, "Is that Jackie?" I was just messing around. I was like, "Is that Jackie Chan?" It was just a good time. That was date night. We had a great.
We did. We were big kids that night.
Yeah. So, but back to the episode, we'll definitely have. Maybe we'll do. I don't want to say definitely, but maybe we'll do on the Patreon a breakdown of Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that might be a good Patreon show, because that movie is worth seeing. If anyone's not familiar with it, go watch it. If
Yeah.
you have access to
And pay
watch it.
attention. I feel like I need to watch it a second time.
Yeah, I want to watch it a second time
Yeah.
actually.
Mhm.
It was really well done for conveying the message that they had to convey. I think they did a really, really good job of it.
And it just so happens that I started watching some other show today, just on a whim, because in the back room watching the baby, there's no certain channel that I usually watch, so I could only watch Netflix on this TV back here. So I picked a show that's almost the same, but it's like a series.
What is it?
I think it's called If I Never Met You. So it's like somebody
okay.
that tries to go back onto a different
Right,
timeline to,
okay.
like,
Interesting.
redo what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so we talked to Matt another 40 minutes after we stopped the recording. I mean, we just have a great
Yeah.
time talking with Matt.
I really like talking with him.
Yeah, he's one of those people, especially what you were saying with social media.
He's
He
great.
cuts through the deception immediately, and people do not like it because people like to be deceived.
And it's not always serious. It's memes sometimes, or it's
Mm-hmm.
fact sheets, or it's little clips, and I love that we were on such a good wavelength together, because everything I'd written down to say when I would find a pocket, it was like he would already say it for me, so I didn't even need a pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's we connect with people at specific times for specific reasons. And I didn't know that I was going to be able to make tonight's episode interview, because I have so many things going on. I don't even want to mention them, but there's so many things happening that that could have gone other directions.
Yeah.
But through the weather and all these other events, I was here on time. And I was thinking about yesterday, I was thinking about canceling, but like when we talked about during the episode, is you ask your gut. Like I asked God, and I was like, should I cancel? And he said, no, just wait till tomorrow and see what happens. And I kind of took that as, okay, maybe Matt will cancel on me, so maybe I won't have to be the bad guy. But Matt, actually, he emailed me and was like, I'm excited to do the show today. And I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to be there. And so we did it. And I'm so grateful that we did it, because there
Yeah.
were so many things that we talked about.
I need to go on his website and look up that information on Epsom salt and baking soda. I want to
Yeah.
kind of read and then maybe do some of my own research too on top of that.
Yeah, and there are so many things we talked about on and off air that were very relieving and very helpful, very fruitful information sharing. I mean, just this back and forth of trying to better oneself, of what we can do in order to make sure we're living in truth, and all these types of things. It's good to know you have some friends somewhere, and you can really know it when you push the boundaries. And I think that we push the boundaries in a few different directions with this episode. So I mean, that is what helps you understand where your center is you push the boundaries outwards further and further, and then you can see where you stand exactly. So I love having conversations with people who are big time thinkers, and they contemplate, and they can see through the lies. It's like your eyes are almost not necessarily your eyes, but just your whole environment. You can see through it. It's like the they live glasses, if you will. I think you mentioned that on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was a very fun conversation, and like I said during the episode, everyone's free to do whatever it is they want. I mean, I just call it as I say it. It happens that people aren't who they say they are, and I don't go around telling everybody things, but it's just when I feel the urge to say it, I say it. I don't hold back anything, and that's why Rudolph doesn't get invited to any reindeer games. He stands out. He's different. But when God comes a knocking, who does he need? He needs that bright light. So I'm just going to stay shining. I'm going to be truthful, and I piss people off, but I mean, that's just, it is what it is. People don't give me too much negativity, and that's because I'm always truthful about myself. I kind of, 8 Mile myself. I tell all my bad flaws, and I call myself out on things all the time, and that's all I do. So, and that's not all I do, but that's what I do, and then it makes it hard for people to get under my skin because I'm already my biggest critic. So, it is what it is, right? And even when I have someone who's being critical, who's getting under my skin, I can then see that it's God using them because I prayed to God, like what happened on Instagram a few months ago. That had profound, life changing effects on me, that uh, it was meant for evil and God used it for good because God opened my eyes to see that that is exactly what I prayed for, to help me love my enemies. Now, I still don't necessarily love my enemies, but it was a very big step forward into understanding everything and not allowing emotions to control me anymore. Right? Well, I guess that was a big old tangent. Do you got nothing to say? Well, you all of a sudden cat got your
Well,
tongue?
that was nice and short, just like you wanted it.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, make sure you go check out all of Matthew's stuff. Go buy some gear. Go watch Frank and Skies.
Yes, buy some gear.
Go check out actualactivist.com, see who's on there, and check out their podcast.
We still use our phone case covers.
Yeah,
I mean, I
my
use
phone
mine
case
when I
every
go
night.
like on
And
trips and stuff.
and on work, at work
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Actually, last week my tooth pain started. There were 3 days in a row where I didn't bring my phone case with me. Something told me to not bring my phone case with me to work, and I didn't, and that's when the tooth pain started. And then I started thinking, we saw 12 Monkeys recently, and they hide the implants in your tooth. So he had to pull out his own tooth with a knife. I'm not going to do that. But that's the thought that came to me instantly, was when the tooth pain started, it was 12 Monkeys. The implants were in the teeth. And I mean, it has to come out somehow if it is in there.
It's interesting that you didn't bring your Sparrow bag, and that Matt was the one to remind you of the coconut oil. So interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Everything works out the way it's supposed to. And it's only upon reflection that we can see it. And we still can't even see it for its full beauty and magnitude, but we can still see it for some of it. All right, so that's going to do it. Go check out the Patreon, check out the website if you want to be part of the Bible study. Send me an email, subject Bible study, and I will send it out to you, and you can join in each and every week, Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern currently, which may be changing soon, but still is at Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. So everyone out there that listens to the show on a regular basis, I love you all. I have, even if you're an enemy of mine, then you're listening to this to try to get me on something. I don't have hate for you. I don't have, I don't know, some kind of disregard for you. That I know that it's all part of God's plan. And once you start looking to God to see his plan, then you too will be changed by him. And his name is Jesus Christ. So if you just give it a shot and see what happens. I mean, you'll find out that things are not as they appear, and maybe some people around you are deceiving you. So if these words resonate with you, then I would suggest you turn to the one who has given you life. And, there's certain people, I'm not going to say you all on here, but there's certain people that I know are real people that have really opened up to me about real things. And I am very humbled and very honored to have worked with you. And I by no means am suggesting that everyone I've ever talked to or interacted with is not a real person or is lying and deceiving. That's not what I'm saying at all. So I hope that none of you are offended. You know who you are. You know, I have close friends on here. I don't need to say your names. You know who you are. And I love you all dearly. All right. So with that, we will see you next time. Bye.